Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's NFL, NHL, NBA, college basketball, and college bowl games. Look at everything going on today. News and notes, nice or naughty NFL edition, and my best bet of the day. We're going to start with the NFL. We had two games last night that I want to quickly go over. Excuse me. The Rams defeated the Seahawks by a score of 20-10. As the Rams go to 10-4 and Seattle drops to 5-9. And the Rams, I believe, are now tied with the Cardinals in that division. And they are. So the Rams might be winning this division. So keep a lookout for that. Arizona goes from a 1 seed possibility to potentially the 5 seed. That's crazy. And the Eagles over the Washington football team, 27-17. The Eagles get back to 500 7-7. The football team drops to 6-8. As Garrett Gilbert got the start for the football team yesterday in place of Taylor Heineke. Now we will recap the lone NHL game from last night, which was the final game before its 5-day pause. As the Lightning defeat the Golden Knights by a score of 4-3. Tampa is 26-4. Vegas is 12-0. As the NHL goes into a little bit of a pause, we'll see who gets better and who is still sick and still testing positive for COVID come early next week. So just unfortunate that the league has to shut down a couple days early because of COVID. But we'll see who ends up coming back stronger from this and who is still recovering from this in a week from now. All right, now we will do NBA, where we will recap last night's games and look ahead to a nice window for tonight, I should say. Heat over the Pacers, 125-96. Knicks over the Pistons, 105-91. By the way, Heat, 19-13. Indiana, 13-19. Knicks, 14-17. Detroit, 5-25. Pelicans over the Blazers, 111-97. Pelicans, 11-21. Portland, 13-19. Mavs over the Timberwolves, 114-102. Mavs, 15-15. Minnesota, 15-16. And the Suns over the Lakers, 108-90 on TNT. Phoenix, 25-5. The Lakers, 16-16. Now we look ahead to tonight's games. No postponements so far, so that is good news. So at 7:30 on NBA TV, the Magic and the Hawks. My projection is the Hawks by 14.5, total to 17-1. Meanwhile, it is 8.5 and 215.5. I'm going to lay the 8.5 of the Hawks. Cavaliers Celtics. My projection is Boston by 9 3/4, total to 11.85. That's because of all the injuries and COVID with Cleveland. Boston 6.5, total to 11.5. I'm going to lay with Boston. 8 o'clock Raptors Bulls. My projection is the Bulls by 22 3/4, total to 13.6. I'm surprised that this game is still on. Nobody's playing for Toronto. No Fred VanVleet. No Gary Trent Jr. No Pascal Siakam. The only one that's really playing is OG Anunoby. And this is Bulls by 10, total to 12. I'm laying it with the Bulls. Rockets Bucks. My projection is Milwaukee by 14 1/4, total to 18.8. Meanwhile, it's 10 and 224.5. I like the under in this game more than I like the Bucks laying the points. Nuggets Thunder. My projection is Denver by 4 1/4 on the road, total 210-15. Meanwhile, it is 6 and 214.5. I am going to go with the under in this game. And then last but not least, 10 o'clock NBA TV, the Clippers and the Kings. My projection is the Clippers by 6.5, total 217.95. Meanwhile, it's 6.5 and 219.5. So slight edge. Wait, is it a slight edge? Yeah, slight edge on the under as my pick for this game. Now we'll move on to college basketball. We will recap the games from last night, and we will look ahead to a big day today in the sport. Bowling Green over Carlow, 129.50. Ohio over SC Upstate, 85.70. East Carolina over Southern Miss, 68-67. Tennessee over CU Harrodsburg, 108.66. Miami of Ohio over Spalding, 80.56. Pitt over Jacksonville, 64.55. Illinois State over UTSA, 81-64. Jacksonville State over Little Rocks, 87-67. Stanford over Ole Miss, 75-73. Cal State Bakersfield over Dartmouth, 61-57. Arkansas State over Lyon, 88-66. NCNT over Mid-Atlantic Christian, 88-63. SC State over Charleston Southern, 75-65. Merrimack over Maine, 49-47. Texas A&M over Northwestern State, 80-61. UNC Asheville over Milligan, 114-54. Number 9, Iowa State over Chicago State, 79-48. Number 10, Alabama loses at home to Davidson, 79-78. Number 23, Villanova over number 18, Xavier, 71-58. Princeton over Keene, 100-59. Morehead State over IUPUI, 80-52. Furman over Presbyterian, 75-61. High Point over FAU, 55-52. Utah over Fresno State, 55-50. Mississippi State over Winthrop, 84-63. Arkansas over Lon, 81-55. Cincinnati over Tennessee Tech, 76-67. George Mason over American, 67-44. Bradley over Sam Houston, 87-61. Harvard over Howard, 77-69. Dayton over Southern, 69-60. Albany over Lehigh, 68-52. Rice State over NC State, 84-70. North Carolina over App State, 70-50. Loyola Marymount over Bellarmine, 71-57. Manhattan over LaSalle, 77-74. Toledo over Marshall, 95-63. Ball State over Eastern Illinois, 75-55. Number 11, Michigan State over Oakland, 90-78. Iowa over Delaware, 83-72. South Alabama over SIU Edwardsville, 84-69. Northern Colorado over Northern New Mexico, 90-54. Tarleton over Air Force, 67-45. TC over Grambling, 90-55. Iowa over Southeast Louisiana, 93-62. Kansas State over McNeese, 74-59. UConn over Marquette, 78-70. Utah State over Portland State, 81-62. UTEP over NC Central, 70-61. New Mexico over Norfolk State, 68-54. So best bet was a loser. Utah Valley over Washington, 68-52. Oregon over Pepperdine, 68-59. Georgia Tech over Georgia State, 72-62 in overtime. Cal Baptist over Southeast Missouri State, 84-68. Santa Clara over San Jose State, 79-57. And Oregon State over Nichols, 83-61. Jackson State, Stephen F. Austin canceled. Drexel LaSalle postponed. Florida A&M, UT Martin, Kent State, UMass Long Island canceled. James Madison, Morgan State postponed. North Texas, Tulsa, Johnson Wales, NC, and UNC Greensboro, Goocher, Loyola Maryland, Purdue Fort Wayne, Michigan, Evansville, SMU canceled. Houston Baptist, FIU postponed. New Hampshire, VCU canceled. North Florida, Florida State postponed. Niagara, Binghamton canceled. UC Irvine, Buffalo postponed. Alabama State, Memphis, New Orleans, Tulane, Southwest Adventures, Texas, Rio Grande. Number 7, Kansas, Colorado. Number 8, USC, Oklahoma State, all canceled. Cornell, Syracuse postponed, and Grand Canyon, Nevada canceled. Now we look ahead to today's game. So Wake over BC forfeit because BC forfeits. And number 22, Providence over Georgetown because Georgetown forfeits. All right, so first you got Hartford and Sacred Heart. My projection is Hartford by 2.25. And it is Sacred Heart by 3.5. Total 142.5. I'm taking Hartford and the points plus 140 straight up. Eastern Kentucky Bryant canceled. 12 o'clock Campbell, UNC Wilmington. My projection is Campbell by 8.75. And it's 4 and 126.5. I'll lay it with Campbell. Maryland Eastern Troy, George Washington. My projection is George Washington by 17.25. And it's 10 and 130.5. I'll lay it with George Washington. Johnson Wales, North Carolina, Davidson. At 1 o'clock, we can skip. St. Bonaventure, Northeastern canceled. William and Mary, Valparaiso. My projection is Valpo 9.5. And it's 15 and 129.5. I'll take William and Mary in the points. Towson, Navy. My projection is Towson by 6. And it's Navy by 2.5. Total 130.5. I'll take Towson plus the 2.5. And plus 116 on the money line. A&M, Corpus Christi, and Notre Dame. My projection is Notre Dame by 16.5. And it's 18 and 141.5. I'll take the over. Alabama State and number 16 Texas on the Longhorn Network at 2 o'clock. My projection is Texas by 39.25. And it's 31 and 131.5. I'll lay the points with Texas. Eastern Washington and number 25 Texas Tech. My projection is Tech by 18. And it's 18 and 143.5. I'll take the over. Pineman Stetson, we can skip. Colgate, Vermont. My projection is Vermont by 10.75. And it's 7.5 and 136.5. I'll lay it with Vermont. Stony Brook in Florida. My projection is Florida by 10.5. And it's 18 and 141.5. I'm going to take Stony Brook and the points. Idaho, UC Riverside canceled. 2:30. Delaware State, Temple. My projection is Temple by 27.25. And it's 24 and 133.5. I'll lay the 24 with Temple. 3 o'clock, Army, South Carolina. My projection is South Carolina by 12. And it's 12.5 and 139.5. I'll take the under. I just think that's a Vegas nose, maybe. Wofford, Duquesne. My projection is Wofford by 5.25. And it is 3 and 134.5. I'll lay the 3 with Wofford. From Stan Sheriff Center, Liberty, Northern Iowa. My projection is Liberty by 6.75. By the way, it's the obviously Diamond Head Classic every year around Christmas time on ESPNU. My projection is Northern Iowa by 2.5, total 125.5. I'm taking Liberty in the points and plus 118 on the money line. St. Peter's and Fairleigh Dickinson, a New Jersey Bowl. My projection is St. Peter's by 16.25. Meanwhile, it is here we go. St. Peter's 8.5, total 136.5. I'll lay it 8.5 with St. Peter's. Idaho State and UC Santa Barbara at 4 o'clock. My projection is Barbara by 13.75. Meanwhile, it is 15.5 and 130.5. I'll take the over. I think that's low. Bucknell, Richmond. My projection is Richmond by 23.25. And it's 19 and 149.5. I'll lay it at 19 with Richmond. St. Thomas, Minnesota, and Denver. My projection is St. Thomas by 1. Meanwhile, it's Denver 2.5, total 139.5. I'm taking St. Thomas in the points and plus 115 on the money line. A couple we can skip here. Bethesda, Cal State Northridge, and Crowley's Ridge, Louisiana Tech, both 5 o'clock games. VMI Hampton canceled. Georgia Southern Fordham canceled. Northwest Seattle, we can also skip. Western Carolina and Charlotte. My projection is Charlotte by 10 3/4. Meanwhile, it is 9.5 and 143.5. I'll take the over. Big Ten Network, Green Bay, Minnesota. My projection is Mini by 25.5, and it's 17.5 and 129.5. I'll lay with Mini. Portland and UC Davis. My projection is UC Davis by 11.5, and it's 9.5 and 145.5. I'll lay the 9.5 at UC Davis. But if it goes to 10, I back off. Southern Illinois and San Francisco. My projection is San Francisco by 15.5. Meanwhile, it's 10.5 and 123.5. I'll lay with San Francisco. Wyoming and Stanford from Stan Sheriff Center in the Diamond Head Classic on ESPNU. My projection is Stanford by 6. And it's a 5:30 game. And my projection is and the line's 1.5 and 139.5. I'll lay to 1.5 with Stanford. By the way, Quinnipiac, Penn State canceled. 6 o'clock SEC Network, Murray State at number 12 Auburn. My projection is Auburn by 9.5. And it's 12.5 and 146.5. I'm going to take Murray State in the points. I really like that call. ESPN, Western Kentucky and number 20 Kentucky. My projection is Kentucky by 13.5. And it's 10 and 143.5. I'll lay to 10 with Kentucky. Chicago State and Drake. My projection is Drake by 25. And it's 24.5 and 132.5. I'm going to take the over. Sam Houston and NC Central from the Don Haskins Center. My projection is NC Central by 1.5. It's the Sun Bowl Invitational, by the way. And I can't find this game up here. I guess DraftKings probably has it. Let's see. If DraftKings has this line. DraftKings does not have the line. Oh well. I think NC Central will win that game. Troy Mercer, my projection is Mercer by 11.5. Meanwhile, 6.5 and 135.5. I'll lay with Mercer. Youngstown State and West Virginia. My projection for this game is WVU by 21.25. Meanwhile, it is 16 and 153. I'll lay with 16 with West Virginia. Pacific Cal on the Pac-12 Network. My projection is Cal by 10.25, and it's 10 and 126. I'll take the over. Here's a great game. On ESPN2 at 7 o'clock, number 6, Arizona, number 19, Tennessee. My projection is Tennessee by 1.5. And it's 2 and 150. I kind of think that's low. So, I'm going to go under with this one. And by the way, Holy Cross St. Joe's canceled. Florida Gulf Coast and Canisius. My projection is Gulf Coast by 23 3/4. It's 4.5 and 144.5. I'll lay to 4.5 with Gulf Coast. Gwinnett, Mercy, Lafayette. We can skip. Middle Tennessee, Chattanooga. My projection is Chattanooga by 14.25. I'll take 8.5 and 139.5. I'll lay with Nuga. Robert Morris and St. Francis, Pennsylvania. My projection is St. Fran, PA by 1. Meanwhile, it's 7.5 and 150.5. I'll take Robert Morris plus 7.5. I think they can win that game too. UMBC and Mount St. Mary's. My projection is... Oh, wait a minute. I don't see that. Did that game get canceled? Yes. UMBC St. Mary's canceled. So, that's unfortunate. Charleston, Old Dominion. My projection is Old Dominion by 3.5. Meanwhile, it's 3.5 and 148.5. I'll take the over. Northern Kentucky and Indiana on the Big Ten Network. My projection is Indiana by 15 3/4. Meanwhile, it's 17.5 and 133. I'll take the over. Prairie View and Wichita. My projection for this game is Wichita by 24.5. It's Wichita 15.5 to the 141.5. I'll lay it with Wichita. North Alabama and UCF. My projection is UCF by 12.75. And 17.5 and 133.5. I'll take North Alabama in the points. SEC Network Plus, East Tennessee State and Georgia. My projection is East Tennessee State by 0.5. Meanwhile, it's 3.5 for Georgia and 140.5. I'm taking East Tennessee State plus the 3.5 and plus 150 straight up. Clemson, Virginia on the ACC Network. My projection is Virginia by 10.25. Meanwhile, it is... Looks like Virginia's a 3.5 point favorite here. So I'll lay it with Virginia. That's low for that type of game. Bethune-Cookman, Marist. My projection is Marist by 20.5. And it's 11.5 and 126.5. I'll lay it with Marist. Hofstra, Monmouth. My projection is Monmouth by 6.75. Meanwhile, it's 5 and 148. I'll take the over. Monmouth's an over team. So UMBC, Mount St. Mary's, and Brown, Rhode Island canceled. 7:30, Miss Valley State and UAB. My projection is UAB by 41.75. Meanwhile, 37.5 and 151.5. I'll lay with UAB. Kennesaw State and Nebraska. My projection is Nebraska by 12.75. 12.5 and 147.5. I'll take the over. Texas State and number 13 Houston, 8 o'clock. My projection is Houston by 15.25. Meanwhile, it's 19 and 130.5. I'll take Texas State in the points. Lipscomb and number 17 LSU on the SEC Network. My projection is LSU by 20. And it's 27.5 and 143.5. I'm going to take Lipscomb in the points. By the way, Clemson, Virginia is listed as an 8 o'clock game, so I guess they moved the start time up. It's 3.5 and 119.5, and I said I'd lay it with Virginia. Bradley UTEP from the Don Haskins Center, Sun Bowl Invitational. My projection is UTEP by 3. Meanwhile, UTEP... I don't see a line for this game, which is very odd. But anyway, if I had to make a pick, I'd say UTEP. Howard Payne, Texas Arlington, we can skip. Boise State, Washington State on the Pac-12 Network. My projection is Wazoo by 7.75, and it's... Oh, wait. It says Wazoo's home, but here it says Boise's home. But it says Wazoo 4, total 130.5, and it says Boise's home, unless this is on a neutral. Let's see. It says Wazoo's home, so they have it wrong, or it's on a neutral. I'm just gotta double check this one, guys. Because if I'm wrong and this is on a neutral, then I have to make some changes to my pick. Yeah, Wazoo's home. It's Balkan Arena. So yeah, they have this wrong here. Wazoo's favored by 4, total 130.5. LA with Wazoo. Alcorn State, Oklahoma. My projection is Oklahoma by 32.75. And it's 26.5 and 132.5. I'll lay the points. Longwood and Abilene Christian. My projection is Christian by 8.25. Meanwhile, 6.5 and 136.5. I'll take the over. North Dakota State. So some Summit action again. My projection is ND State by 16, and it's 17.5 and 136.5. I'll take the over. Oral Roberts, South Dakota State. My projection is SD State by 25.25, and it's 9.5 and 163.5. I'll lay it with South Dakota State. Western Illinois and Omaha. My projection is Omaha by 15.75. I'm sorry, Western Illinois by 15.75. That's my mistake. Meanwhile, it's 11.5 and 146.5. I'll lay it with Western Illinois. UMKC, South Dakota. My projection is South Dakota by 7.75. Meanwhile, it's 4.5 and 127.5. I'll lay it with South Dakota. Our Lady of the Lord, UTSA, postponed. Indiana State, Northern Illinois, canceled. 9 o'clock ESPN 2, Virginia Tech at number 2, Duke. My projection is Duke by 12.75. Meanwhile, it's 9 and 139. I'll lay the 9 with Duke. Saguay, I see San Diego State. We could skip. Big Ten Network, Illinois, Missouri from the Enterprise Center. My projection is Illinois 15. Meanwhile, it is 13.5 and 139. I'll take the over. Dixie State and Southern Utah. My projection is Southern Utah by 18.75. Meanwhile, it's 11.5 and 153.5. I'll lay the points for Southern Utah. BYU and South Florida from the Stan Sheriff Center. My projection is BYU by 18.25. Meanwhile, it is 15 and 128.5. I'll lay the 15 with BYU. San Diego and UNLV. By the way, BYU South Florida's 9:30 ESPN and Diamond Head, obviously. So San Diego UNLV. My projection is UNLV by 3.75. Meanwhile, it's 9 and 130.5. I'll take San Diego in the 9. Also at 10 o'clock, Missouri State St. Mary's. My projection is St. Mary's by 15.75. Meanwhile, it's 7 and 127.5. I'll lay to 7. California number 5 UCLA canceled. And by the way, midnight, the last of the 4 Diamond Head games of the day. Vandy, Hawaii from Stan Sheriff. Hawaii's home. My projection is Vandy by 3.5. And it's Vandy 6.5, total 133.5. I'll take Hawaii plus a 6.5. I think that there's a chance that they can potentially win this game outright as well. Now I'm going to go to college bowls. We will recap last night and look at to one game for today. Wyoming over Kent State, 52-38 in the Idaho Potato Bowl. Wyoming finishes 7-6. Kent finishes 7-7. And the Frisco Bowl, number 24, San Diego State over UTSA, 38-24 in the Cafe Frisco Bowl. San Diego State finishes 12-2, and as does UTSA. Great seasons for both teams. All right, one game tonight is the Armed Forces Bowl, Missouri Army, 8 o'clock on ESPN. My projection for this game is Army by 5, total 58-35. Meanwhile, Army is giving 6.5, and the total is 54.5. I love the over in this game. I think that Army's going to score a lot of points. They're going to score in this game more than they did against Navy. Missouri's missing some key players, which is a problem, but their defense is really bad. So I could see this game being somewhat close, and I think that this is for sure an over game. All right, now I'll move on to news and notes for today. So the Buccaneers signed Le'Veon Bell. They have a lot of running back issues right now. Leonard Fournette hurt. Ronald Jones, kind of inconsistent. The Titans might get A.J. Brown back on Thursday if practice continues to go well. So that is good news for the Tennessee Titans for tomorrow. The NHL is going to make an announcement this morning that the NHL players won't be allowed to participate in the Olympics due to COVID. The announcement is supposed to come around 10 o'clock, and as yours truly predicted, it sounds like during what was supposed to be the Olympic break, they will schedule the postponed COVID games in that stretch, which is very smart. And then also they should put in some set makeup dates just in case more games get postponed as well. The Mets introduced Buck Showalter yesterday as their new manager. Adam Silver says no plans to pause the NBA. The league has looked at all the options but doesn't see logic in stopping the season. But the NHL had its case, and they took advantage of it. Started their holiday break 2 days early, decided not to go to Olympics, and will schedule more games in that period. So now smart going by the NHL. So I don't blame Adam Silver for saying what he said because the NBA doesn't have that leverage that the NHL has. The Hawks may call up Lance Stevenson to play for them. So that would be really fun to see Lance Stevenson back in the NBA. A couple of pitchers speak about not being able to talk to coaches because of the lockout. Charlie Morton, Lucas Giolito, and Zach Britton. Jalen Green will be back tomorrow for the Rockets against the Pacers as he missed a month due to a hamstring injury. 3 Chiefs players are in COVID protocols: Tyreek Hill, Rashad Fenton, and Blake Bell. So there's not a guarantee that Tyreek Hill misses this game. Because if he's vaccinated and he gets a couple negative tests, he could play. There's a terrible call in the Rams-Seahawks game last night. DJ Dallas was the culprit of this, as there was just an awful call in which should have been pass interference, and it wasn't. And I'm not saying Seattle would have won the game if not for that, but it would have made the game more interesting. The Washington football team is traveling with their own benches after the Cowboys brought their own benches to Washington. The football team plans to do the same thing for remaining road games, which is very smart because of COVID. Levante David out for the regular season due to a foot injury. Is hopeful to be back for the playoffs. Leonard Fournette likely to go on injury reserve. And he can miss the rest of the regular season with the hamstring injury. So Garrett Gilbert got the start last night, as I mentioned, as will Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen sitting clear COVID protocols. We hinted at this yesterday, and it's true. Takk McKinley tore his Achilles out for the year. That's a bad, brutal loss for the Cleveland Browns. So yesterday in college football, we saw a French fry bath as Wyoming Cowboys players showered Craig Bull with French fries after winning the Potato Bowl. That's pretty interesting. You never see something like that. All right, now we're going to do Nice or Naughty. today's topic will be the NFL. I'll go division by division and say who's on the nice list and who's on the naughty list. So the AFC East will go in alphabetical order to Buffalo Bills. To me, they're on the naughty list. They really haven't lived up to expectations this year. They're not even in first place in their own division. And they're not even guaranteed to make the playoffs at this point. The Miami Dolphins. This is a tough one. This is probably the toughest call in this division in terms of nice list or naughty list. But I'm going to say the naughty list only because they lost to the Jaguars earlier in the year, and they would have been in a better position to be in the playoff mix if they hadn't lost that game. And Tua Tagovailoa has just been so up and down. The New England Patriots, a nice list. They're the best team in the division this year. Mac Jones has been amazing as a rookie. Best position for a rookie quarterback to succeed in since Russell Wilson in 2012 with the Seahawks. And the New York Jets, the naughty list. It looks like they might have the worst quarterback in this draft class. Mac Jones is better than Zach Wilson, which is really sad. Trevor Lawrence is better, although he was picked number 1, and he hasn't been very good either. We'll get to him in a little bit. But it's just same old Jets, unfortunately. The AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens, naughty list. They're just, I know they've had injuries galore and everything, and it's just unfortunate. But the reality is that Lamar Jackson hasn't been the same player as he was when he won the MVP a couple years ago. And that's what I think could potentially hold them back in the playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals, nice list. Yes, they've really been feast or famine over the last month or so, but they've been a pleasant surprise this year. Joe Burrow, I think, is the best second-year quarterback in the league. Although Justin Herbert might have something to say about that, but I just have seen a major jump from Joe Burrow, and his major jump is the big reason why the Bengals are in playoff position. The Cleveland Browns, the naughty list. Baker Mayfield, I feel like, has regressed. The Odell Beckham drama from earlier in the year. And quite frankly, they just haven't lived up to expectations as a team in this Baker Mayfield era. So I'm going to say naughty list for the Browns. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, to me, are on the naughty list. To me, I know injuries have killed that team a little bit too, but no show against the Bengals. Nearly come back and beat the Vikings. Barely get by Tennessee without Derrick Henry. Just so inconsistent. So to me, the Steelers go on the naughty list. The AFC South. We'll start with the Houston Texans. They're on the naughty list. They're terrible. They have no quarterback. They literally have no players, let alone no quarterback. And their coach is terrible. The Indianapolis Colts. This is a tough one. Let's go with the nice list for them. I think this is the best team in the division. The Carson Wentz trade looks like it has worked out. He's better than Jacoby Brissett was. And they're probably going to make the playoffs. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the naughty list. The Urban Meyer era was a shit show. Or I should say error. They were literally the biggest shit show in the NFL this year, and it wasn't close. I mean, no excuses, man, for the Jaguars. And Trevor Lawrence, you could argue, has been the most disappointing player in all of football this year. Everyone thought he was going to be promising like Joe Burrow was last year and Justin Herbert was last year, but he's been nothing but that. So, we'll see what happens there and who they hire and such. And then the Tennessee Titans, this is a tough one for me because obviously Derrick Henry's the heart and soul of their team, and he goes down, the team falters. But I'm going to say the naughty list. Julio Jones really hasn't been that great for them. A.J. Brown hurt on and off. So the Titans, who many people thought that this was the division favorite before the year, might not even win the division. So I'm going to say the naughty list for the Titans. The AFC West, we'll start with the Denver Broncos. To me, they're on the naughty list. Passed on Mac Jones in the draft for Patrick Surtain. Might have been one of the worst decisions of the offseason. Because if Mac Jones was on Denver, maybe they're New England. Because I think they have the roster to be successful, but the quarterback position, I think, is holding them back. So for that alone, they're on the naughty list. The Kansas City Chiefs. This is a very hard call for me. But I'm going to say the naughty list only because, to me, they just really haven't upgraded their defense. And I think that could ultimately come back to bite them in January if they played the wrong team. The Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to say the naughty list. Too much turmoil this year. Henry Ruggs, John Gruden. And it got in their heads and they faltered because of it. The Los Angeles Chargers. Another naughty list. So four AFC West teams, and they're all on the naughty list. And really, the Chargers, I just think they just have been too inconsistent, and they find ways to lose close games. The Chiefs game, the Cowboys game earlier in the year. And Justin Herbert has had some real bad stinker games. And that's why I think that Eli Manning's a very solid comp for him as a pro. The NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys. This is a tough one for them. But I'm going to say the nice list for the sole reason being that their defense is improved from what it was in years past. Once Dak Prescott gets right from that injury, I think that offense will be fine. But their defense is so improved thanks to the arrival of Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs' year 2 leap. The New York Football Giants, the naughty list. Oh my God. This is the most obvious call in the division. Obviously, Daniel Jones ain't it. We knew that. He's hurt now. And now they're the worst offense in the league because a guy that really wasn't all that good is hurt. I mean, well, I'd say the worst offense in the NFC. But you could argue Texans probably worse than the Giants, though. But Saquon Barkley's always hurt. He's probably not going to be on the Giants next year. And their coach and their general manager are probably going to be fired. Well, more likely the GM than the coach, but I think there's a chance both are fired. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do this offseason. The Philadelphia Eagles, the naughty list. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Eagles weren't supposed to be all that good this year, but they're still the Philadelphia Eagles, and their fans expect them to make the playoffs every year. But the reason why I have them on the naughty list is because they're too feast or famine, especially their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He had that terrible game that single-handedly murdered them against the Giants, and then he goes out and looks like a superstar on opening day against the Falcons and yesterday against Washington. And that's why they're on the naughty list to me. And their fans aren't nice either. And the football team is on the naughty list. They've underachieved. Their defense isn't what they thought. Everybody expected big things from this team after making the postseason with Taylor Heineke last year. Heineke's been okay, but what makes them on the naughty list to me is their defense and their inconsistencies, and Chase Young really not breaking through, although he got hurt and then they went on a run. which makes people think Ewing theory for them. But no, they're, to me, belong on the naughty list. The NFC North, the Green Bay Packers. This is a tough one. Now I'm going out of ABC order. But yeah, Green Bay, I'm going to say for them, the nice list. Because ever since they got steamrolled by the Saints on opening day, they really never looked back and went on this great run. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP to me. It's not even a question. He loses that game because of COVID. And Jordan Love starts, and they're terrible. So that game proved to me that Aaron Rodgers was the MVP of the season. It's not even a debate, guys. You're crazy if you don't think it's Aaron Rodgers. Especially with how Tom Brady looked on Sunday, which we'll get to. But to me, they're on the nice list, despite the Rodgers drama. The Bears, the naughty list. They gave up the first-round pick for Justin Fields, and the Giants would have 2 top 5 picks because of it. So that alone puts the Bears on the naughty list. And I don't care how good Justin Fields is going to be. But they shouldn't have given up that high of a first-round pick to a bad team. To another bad team. So, to me, that alone puts them on the naughty list. And plus, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, I think, are going to be fired. Detroit Lions, naughty list. It took them until after Thanksgiving to get a win. And Jared Goff stinks. So, they're on the naughty list. The Minnesota Vikings, the naughty list. Because they lost to the Lions, you're on the naughty list. The NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons, the naughty list. Every year, it's the same old song and dance. Some weeks Matt Ryan looks like, hey, he's still good. And some weeks he looks like he's washed. And a lot of turmoil on that team, too. Maybe they should have taken a quarterback instead of Kyle Pitts. The Carolina Panthers, the naughty list. To me, no team botched their offseason in the previous year more than the Panthers, and that's why they are where they are, other than the fact that Christian McCaffrey's hurt. He's literally their team, Christian McCaffrey. And it's interesting to see where they go, especially at the quarterback position, where they need an upgrade badly. New Orleans, this is a hard one. Because I think injuries derailed this team, obviously. But for me, because they're still in the playoff picture, I'm going to put them on the nice list. And that's a tribute to Sean Payton, who's just marvelous at his job. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a hard one. A week ago, I would have been a guarantee on the nice list. But of how pathetic they looked on Sunday, you would think I'd put them on the naughty list. But because they won the Super Bowl this year, in the calendar year of 2021, they belong on the nice list. And then the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals, the nice list, big-time overachievers this year. When Kyler Murray has been healthy, he's been really good. But that's just the same song and dance for them, it seems like, every year. The Los Angeles Rams, the naughty list. They just really been too inconsistent. Robert Woods out for the year, that's a problem. But the common denominator is Stafford when I talk about the inconsistencies. The San Francisco 49ers, the naughty list only because of Trey Lance and how he hasn't played and how they probably should have taken Mac Jones instead. Like, why trade up for Trey Lance and he's not even playing? And that, to me, is why they're on the naughty list, because of that alone. And the Seahawks are on the naughty list, too. I mean, Russell Wilson got hurt, I understand that, but were they ever a good team this year under Russell Wilson? Yeah, they lost games because he was hurt. They would have beaten the Steelers if he was healthy, sure. But they're still in just mediocrity. Something's got to change there. I wonder if Pete Carroll could be out the door. Although I think he signed a big extension this year too. if I'm not mistaken. All right, last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. There are some interesting games for sure that should be worth betting on. And I'm going to go to the NBA today, and I'm going to lay the 10.5 with the Bulls against the Raptors. I don't understand why this is only 10.5. The Raptors' only player that's playing is OG Anunoby. So I'm laying a unit on the Bulls tonight, minus 10.5 at home against the Toronto Raptors. All right, so there you have it for the show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything and looking ahead to everything that's going on tomorrow and then the weekend. We're not going to do a Friday show only because it's Christmas Eve. So a monster show tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. So I hope you guys have a great day, everyone.